When you first come into Ephesus, this is early morning. It's very cold out, in the 40s, low 40s. This is the theater. There's a haze. I don't know if it's going to lift. The sun is just up over the hill. Trees are huge. We take this path to the right. The Church of Mary is way down that way. Again, this is a very large city. Supposedly 250,000 people lived here around the turn of the millennia. 129 AD, 200 AD. A lot of stuff happened here. Walking up to the theater. Again, it's early morning, so we're going to try to work with the sun the best we can. There's the theater. It's a big one, too. This is rather large. This city was supposedly second in size to Rome back in its heyday. And we can't go way down that way. So we're missing a lot here. It does cost a little bit to get in here. It's 40 euros if you're not a Turkish citizen. If you've got a green card, $10 cheaper. This had to be amazing. Tens of thousands of people back in the old days coming to the theater. Gotta wonder what kind of vendors stood around here selling what kind of food. Probably cooked corn, nuts, all kinds of meats. And of course we have the guardians of the stone. They're just hanging out this morning, waiting for things. Check this out. Maybe he's pointing to a special place here. Here we have the hanging eggs. We have what looks like lions and the sculptor, and there's quite a bit of it everywhere. Again, the style is very familiar to what's even in Side. Again, you have the same type of people, Greco, Roman, and they came through. They did all their carvings. And wherever there's no string or rope, we can go. So this place, it's very large. It's very different than Side. I think the funding is different here. The entrance fee pays for a lot. In Side, they have the hotels have been putting up a lot of the money. Again, we're a smaller area in Side. You can see there's still always rocks and rubble everywhere. As far as you can see, it goes on and on and on. Probably was a big gate here going around helping people in and out. Got a feeling they knew how to move people just like we do in modern time. There's still huge lines coming through. Again, more artwork that looks like what's in Antalya at the theaters and in Side. More rubble everywhere you look. There's rubble. Some words. So you can interpret what those are, leave those in a comment. There's some more next to it. I'm guessing this is Greek, possibly Roman, which would have been what, Latin? There's familiar symbols. If you can interpret those, leave a comment. Wonder what this is. Is this somebody's name? Was this one of the plays that was going on? There's just bits and pieces of writing everywhere I look. Some of it just broken in the middle of letters. And it's just laying around in these giant rubble rock fields. And they're just everywhere. I see 1716. I don't know if that's the year that somebody carved in. Oh, it looks like penned in writing. I don't think that's carved in the rock, or is it? Hard to tell. very large theater. Very, very large theater. Look at the opening on that gate. That is just massive. And of course, we're not allowed up. Just the scale of this is huge. Watch your footing too. And of course, there's always hills and mountains nearby. There's steps, which means we want to go up. Oh, but we can't. Oh, no. They're just so tempting. Someday. But it does look pretty dicey up there. This does not look so stable. A couple of shakes and down it comes. You can see they have supporting rods here for a reason. This is not exactly earthquake country, but you can see all the bracing. I think without it, this definitely would not withstand any more time. Coming up into the theater. Guessing this was one way to go. Again, gates and bars, no entry. But you can see the theater floor. That's pretty cool. Looks like marble. Everything seemed to have been marble back then. This looks in pretty good condition. I got a feeling they're going to open it up one day, but who knows when. Maybe they just closed this for the season too. Walking by the wall, I noticed some of the seams, and in ancient archaeology, they always talk about how tight the seams are. And I would say this isn't perfect, but boy, that's pretty good. If this was just piled recently, or if it was done quite a while ago. But there's this rubble and rock strewn everywhere. You can see, and I got a feeling a lot of this is fairly recent. Let's just say within 100 years, maybe 50 years, 75 years. And they just threw the rocks to uncover things. Oh, let's see, stairs. Let's see where these lead. Oh, hello. There's a good overview of probably the Agora. That's a rather large Agora. There's sheep in the background. Whenever you walk forward, make sure when you go back to look up. I've got a hat on, so I didn't even see this archway. And looking at that, how is that even standing? Incredible archaeology. They just knew how to do things back then. And again, what was all underneath here? Is that just rubble, or was it used to support the wall of the theater that is right there? I guess we'll never know, or maybe know in decades to come. We can see what I believe to be the great library entrance, the famous photos of Ephesus, and the sun is shining on it perfectly as we get closer. And we'll get a peek at that. So I see tops of archways here and there, which tells me that this goes way down below. Maybe it was to whatever house was here, because there's no way this hill is just a hill. There's something underneath there. They just didn't leave stuff like that in the middle of a city. You can see this is just remnants, just unbelievable amount of building here. Like downtown central. Walking away from the theater towards the great library of Ephesus, we can see some sort of archaeological dig that is pretty vast. And I'm wondering what that is. I think we'll find out in a few minutes when we get there. It's a ways away yet. Some unique scenery plaques. This area has drastically changed over time. The marble I'm standing on is like a grayish with all kinds of unique pock marks, chisel marks. I don't know if this is flooring or wall. I gotta imagine though that this looked a lot different. There's probably a fountain right there. I see steps. This had to be beautiful, absolutely amazing back in the day. More places I want to go, but we're not allowed. I'm going to attempt to give you segments of this library face, little by little. You can see, looks like original writing still. And this is just 20% of the face of what's left. Look at the ornateness on this. Absolutely amazing. There's obviously statues up there. Some will be in the museums. So this was built in about the year 100 AD. Took about 10 years to build, which is pretty amazing if you think about it. 10 years to do all this carving. These people had an amazing knowledge of how to do things. And there's so much missing. In the year 270 AD about, there was a massive earthquake that damaged and destroyed pretty much everything here. What we see left is just absolutely amazing that this is still even here, even at this level. One more earthquake though, and this all is gonna disappear. There just had to be a huge amount of ceilings. This guy, he knows where to feed. He's waiting for snacks from people. Let's see if you can see the writing. See if you can interpret that. Leave it in a comment. Look at the detail. Absolutely incredible. All that's missing is the original statues and some more ceiling. All right, let's go up inside this and see what's left. The stairs, a lot of them have been reworked. They're pretty high stairs, which meant very, very elite status coming up. Inside, there's probably 200,000 scrolls stored in here at one time. I gotta imagine there was all kinds of wood scaffolding that held these scrolls. They did not have books, they had scrolls. And they would have been in here, I would imagine, librarians would help people. I think these bricks were added much after. You can see some of the building techniques they used. Several different types of architecture and rock use here. On the wall, you can see some leftover of the writing. Bibliothèque, I can read that. I think that was carved fairly recently. Actually, I'm thinking 1970 to 1978, if you can read it. I can't. I was cheating. but there was probably some old artwork here. Standing inside the Celsus library, looking up. Big crowd's coming. We're gonna get out of here just in time. Look at the archway. Look at the size of this stuff. Incredible. And then we step into the Agora. This is big. This is huge. Again, if they had 250,000 people here, this would have had to have been big. The amount of shops set up in here would have been quite a few. Let's just go to the other side and see what we can see. Looking towards the theater, on top of all these columns, there would have been pieces. This is probably 100 meters across, 100 by 100 by 100. Hey, they picked up a friend. Check it out. One of the local dogs, he's tagged, he's approved to be here. These trees are huge. These are not little bushes. There's a lot of people coming in, but during tourist season, this would be packed. So if you're gonna come, you do it in the off seasons. The theater, and I got a feeling this part went out quite a bit further. The earthquake that destroyed most of this in 278 AD just did so much damage, just probably brought everything to the ground. Coming this way from the Agora, you would go up to the Great Library. That obviously is not there anymore, just the front. Coming from the Agora, you would see in the morning sun the Great Library. We are going to go up the path, the road, the ancient road. There are architectural wonders everywhere to be seen, including here, big slabs of writing. I see the word Octagon. Let's go check out what this is. These steps are almost my entire shin. Let's see what this is. The Octagon, the 9-meter long square podium. It's a burial chamber, so I'm thinking it's not very big. Right, I don't know what it is, it's missing. I think this is an artist renditioning. Where is it? This is the artist renditioning. That would have been here. That is no longer. And I think I'm standing right about here. So it would have been this pile right next to me. And again, we can see what might have been just alcoves. Don't think those were entryways. You never know, there's probably statues in there. Because again, they built layer on top of layer on top of layer. I see bigger archways behind it, so that might have been an opening. So I'm thinking what we're seeing with this brick up front was added as an afterthought, or maybe a century or two later. And just again, rubble everywhere. I found out the mystery of what's underneath these enclosures. It's called the Terrace houses. And apparently it's 15 euros per person to go in to the Terrace houses. So it's not a cheap place to go, but you can see how extensive this is. I mean, this is massive area. Look at the temple or the library. This is huge. No wonder it's 15 euros. Absolutely massive. This goes back to the 7th and 6th century BC and is very extensive. Very, very extensive. There's a lot in there. I see enclosures like this. I am so curious. It says no access, but let's see how far up we can go before you get yelled at. This is going through Hadrian's Gate. Let's see what's in here. Let's see, it says no access this way. I'm just gonna poke my head. Oh, and there's a door. As far as I can reach. So it looks like they're doing some serious work. This is, you don't put this kind of girdering up for nothing. Well, there's one of the workers. Next to the terrace houses, we have what looks like original mosaic. And I got a feeling original mosaic covered every bit of every ground. I can't go further. There's a rope and there's some guards nearby. They're not gendarmes, but they're guards. If I stepped up here, I would get yelled at. But this is just amazing how this stuff goes on. You gotta wonder, what did this look like back in the days? Just incredible stuff. Absolutely incredible. Pink marble on the column. There's quite a bit of it. It's fairly consistent here. And I'm standing across from Hadrian's Gate. Or Hadrian's Temple, sorry, not Hadrian's Gate. Hadrian's Gate is actually further down. I got a feeling this whole area is dedicated to him. He was a very important historical figure. There's some big pieces missing. You can see by the size of this stuff. It was huge. The little kittens. We know what your parents look like. This would be cool to go back in there. Oh, I don't know how far back that goes, but that would be so cool to go in there. When there's gates, that means there's something they don't want you to see. Look, a break in the rope. I think we're allowed up here. Let's go. Let's see what we can see up these big, massive steps. Ooh, we can go pretty far. So much to see and so little that we can get to. All right, I'm looking at, what do you think? A sink? A toilet? That's something ancient. That's so cool. I would love to go up here, but based on the amount of strings and ropes, I'm thinking it's not safe because I can see cave in. So there's probably some wet rot. Probably not a good idea to go up there. Oh my gosh, there's a whole open area up in here. This is cool. We're allowed to walk around up here. We need to spend some time up here. The terrace houses stand across from me, and it looks like there's so much that has not been excavated yet. But what lies behind me is even cooler, because we can explore back here and there's no extra money needed. So let's take a look what we can find back in this area. There was probably statues up here. This tells me it was probably a temple. I see foundation stones. I see what looks like entryways, exits. Whenever I see an arch, I know there's an entryway. And whenever there's not rope, that means we can go. So let's take a peek down this way. Let's see what's here. We have curved rock. This tells me it was up above at one point, and I'm thinking it might have been up here, or it could have been actually over this way. Probably more likely so. This was an enclosed temple building that we're here in. Again, you gotta look around because there's some really cool things that you can see. Let's make our way through here without breaking a leg or getting yelled at or collapsing anything ancient. Let's see what's up in here. Can you see in there? I wish I had a stick. I can't get up in here, it's too high. And if I climb, I'm gonna break something and then I'll really get yelled at. Pretty cool. Secret chambers. And probably down below here, there's a doorway to get into there. This round circular area was probably a bath. I got a feeling this was a temple that was very special. And again, huge arch. That arch is massive, and it looks like it's made out of small rocks, but they're actually fairly sizable rocks. What an incredible place. And this probably had a roof over the top. Let's go further. There's always people around, so we just have to deal with outside voices. This was just a room. Probably just a back room. Maybe a temple. The archways, I'm guessing there were statues. Fairly large statues. Maybe Hadrian's statue is in here. Again, more gate, which means don't go. But we're going to see how far we can go. So let's see what's here. There is absolutely no work being done back here. This looks like an afterthought of another time. I don't think it was the original Roman. But I could see it looks like a hole. Hard to say what was here. But there's modern people were piling up rocks and bricks. We just heard a tour guide saying how the Romans knew if you didn't take baths and keep clean, you would carry disease. So there's always baths somewhere, and we've seen this. Perg, we've seen this. Very clear signs of bathhouses. They probably even brought their slaves and washed them. The elites, everybody. Probably had separate baths, though. I see another entrance. Let's go through the entrance and see what we can see. Ooh. No go. Probably went up to somebody's house. There's a mountain hill up here. They probably had something important up there. And down we can see remnants of who knows what that was. Storage, houses, just all kinds of different things. And there's just untold stuff buried underneath that ground. 1,000, 1,500, 17, 1,800 years of debris. All right, so under my feet, we have smooth marble, and then we have cut marble, and we have cut marble in strange shapes and sizes. And I'm wondering, is this anti-slip technology from hundreds of years ago, thousands of years ago? But if so, why does it stop here and there? So this is really a mystery. Somebody that knows that was there, let me know. If you weren't there, what's your best guess? We've seen these cuts before in Perg. That's the style they used, so we know that Ephesus and Perg were built around the same times. So, of course, we're going to see a lot of things. The thing is, it's 6 hours by car from here to Perg. Walking would have taken a couple weeks. So, same people probably went back and forth. I think we found another sign of ancient censorship, but it's hard to tell. We're about 15 feet away. Let's see about zooming in here. While I was studying this amazing ornate architecture, I realized I'm standing above something even more amazing. Original mosaic. Look at how far that goes, and it's undisturbed. Even in Perg, you don't see that much. I think they buried it in Perg. Here, probably a little bit easier to control. But just absolutely amazing. This is still the original colors of the mosaic. Just amazing that this stuff is still standing. I'm pretty sure they rebuilt this. There's no way this has been here for 1,800 years without falling down. You can just see based on some of the modern cement. But look at this marble. This was this archway that is now on the ground. Was most likely up on top here. And the great earthquake knocked all this stuff down. There's a lot of modern cement in there, I can see, within 50 to 75 years modern. Yeah, they've rebuilt this stuff because there's no way that stuff was left standing. And it's just a statue was in the middle. I think this is probably what it looked like back in the old days when you were about to fight another city. Just walls of people. That's what it feels like. There's places in Ephesus that just don't make sense the way you see it now. But when you start to realize that there's a lot missing from time, these were probably houses, part of the terrace houses. Here we are at the crossroads of a couple streets. This is the Memmius monument, it says. Definitely looks like it was put back together the best they could figure out. Again, there's so many pieces missing. And here we have just gigantic rocks, so there's still much more to see. Standing underneath what looks like a fig tree. And there's figs that people can't reach. So the road, I have a feeling, has seen better days. This is really rough. If you have bad footing, this is probably not the best place for you. There's loose rocks. This stuff has been walked on by millions of people. It's shiny. You can see the footing is very, very unstable. So be careful. The rocks feel very firm now. And then don't forget to look up every once in a while because there's some really cool stuff. Here's an arch that's magically still there. I'm pretty sure that was rebuilt. A lot of this stuff just looks like it was put together by children that had no clue how it goes back. There's just so many broken pieces between earthquake and then people chiseling away at it over time. Things just don't go back together the same. But what's great, step down, is the ornateness of this. Again, we've seen this. This is in Perg and Side, all over. Same type of architecture. And here we have the little eggs. Maybe these are like little quail eggs. But there's still so much to see here. And again, just archways and things that just pieces missing everywhere. Remnants of an opening that just doesn't make sense. It's almost out of place. It just doesn't seem to fit. Again, because you had a couple different cultures and civilizations in here over time. It's all just a mix mash of rocks, rubble, finished marble, just junk rock brick. You gotta use your imagination to what it really might have looked like, if even possible. See? And then you have archways like that connotate there was some kind of big building here. More ropes, which means don't go, but there's steps that lead up. And then there's underground entrances that I want to explore, but we're not allowed to. So here we see two, what look like columns, but they're, to me, obvious arches. This was ceilings that were supported by columns that are no longer here. This is a column base, and there's obviously something here. There's a column base behind it. My guess is that these two were up above, and then we have a square one. So something is not right. Either they're rebuilding it wrong, because I don't think the cultures at the time would have made that mistake. And here you can see these are probably storage facilities of some sort. I found no ropes, so I'm allowed back here. Let's see what we got. Looks like piping. That's some serious piping. And these pipes, these are interesting. Look at how they fit together. Just inserted. And I'm guessing they could be originals. It's pretty thick. It was meant to last a while. Just pieces. Here we have storage facility of rocks. Rocks and more rocks. So there's labeled rocks. So I'm in an area that the ropes are not, so I get to go check things out. Plus I see a path. There's these gated entryways. These look fairly freshly painted. The lock, it hasn't been opened in a while. But inside these storage units, there's a couple of them, are crates that are numbered and labeled. And I got a feeling there's a catalog somewhere in a museum that shows what was in it. Here's a leftover column that they don't know where it went yet. Some future generation will get in here and put this back together. Here's another entryway, or closed entryway. And you can see the rocks are still piled up, fresh in here. And you can see the numberings on the crates. My guess would be, it was taken in the year 1984. And again, there's just what looks like just pieces of rock, but it's shaped rock, not just garbage rock. I see remnants of columns. If we can see back in here. So we're looking at some of these carvings, and I'm looking at how did they get into here and do this stuff? They had to have some kind of special tooling to get in there, and that's hollow underneath, and then there's no way that's natural, obviously. But to get in here and chip this out and make it smooth, that took a while. And there's a lot of it. I'm just standing here. It's finally no crowds, and I'm looking at all this different rubble and formations and columns and the way they pile the rocks. And it's almost if children came and just piled this stuff together. It just doesn't make sense. And even my imagination, I'm trying to imagine a beautiful fountain straight ahead, maybe with a dome over the top. And there's just not enough rubble to even make sense of that, which means they probably moved it to areas like this, but there's not even enough rubble there to make sense of this stuff. Where did it go and what did it look like? And then we see modern reconstruction of arches. And it's 2 different, 3, 4 different layers. You've got marble at the bottom, You got some kind of rock, then more rocks and layers. It's just, they built on top of each other. And then this, and you wonder, is this just modern recreation based on what they found, or is it actual rock that fell? But I'm thinking that was poured. So this just was probably a storage area, maybe somebody's business. There's just a huge rock in here. Is that, and this is big. Huge. How'd they get it in here? There's gated off stuff everywhere. We see little columns. We see engraving. Again, just rubble pieces. It looks like the workers just threw this stuff in here. None of this stuff belongs here. This is just a storage area. Just waiting to be cataloged, back together. All kinds of different crates. This is just a basic room, and I see a lot of curved pieces. It looks like columns. I do see some chiseled items. And of course, junk. Stop throwing junk, people. This is a big storage area, not just for the past, but for the present. There's just pieces and parts strewn everywhere. This just looks like rock, but it is part of columns and leftover pieces. You can see here's pipes over here. Just leftover pipes that they found in pieces, parts. There's rooms, again, with all kinds of cool stuff. I don't know if I can get up here, but that looks like, ooh, that looks important, actually. Mausoleum, maybe? There's another big storage area across from another theater. Wow. This just, it's big. Actually, I think we're almost at the end. So apparently I found the Inscriptions Museum that's closed. Well, I don't see locks, but there's a lock, and it's fairly fresh. So I got a feeling this is going to be opened up soon. We'll go back in there easier. That's why it looks so nice from the window I found. We're going to go see about this theater. We'll call this the upper theater. So here's another upper walkway. This is by the upper gate. I believe they call it the south gate. And it's just remnants everywhere of stuff. The amount of money it would take to redo this, even close to Perig, has got to be, I'm going to say, in the billions. Here's what looks like a bath, a trough maybe. And just remnants of stuff everywhere. It would take 5 armies of people to come in here and clean this and get this ready for what, in the future. We're just taking a leisurely stroll down the avenue, one of the avenues, and then you look to your left and you see this beautiful theater, what's left of it, with all the remnants of just stuff. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, this pops up. Well, it's been here a while, so it just didn't pop up, it just came into our view. But this is the so-called fountain. I don't know why they call it that. This is called the so-called fountain. And it was based on an inscription. All right, what kind of technology do they actually have? Here we have corkscrews. Did they have some kind of special milling that we don't know about? This is incredible. This is just not something you figure out how to do haphazard. This is machined. It has to be machined. What do you think? So here we have what looks like 2 feet. And there's probably a big statue in here. By the size of those, there's probably about 8 to 10 foot size statue. And we have what looks like bracing parts that it might have done. And then I look at something that I've not seen anywhere in any ancient city. This curlicue design. This is really, really unique. This is special. How and what was this used for? How did they make this? Absolutely amazing. You can see the tooling marks in here from a catalog. Pretty sure it's from modern. And then I was looking to my right and I noticed fresh diggings. And I was so focused on the fresh diggings, what might be there, I realized that the theater is right through here. One of the theaters. And there are people in there, so it's not that big of a theater. You can see by the guys in there. It's not that big, but it's still pretty decent size. So again, more mysteries, but not really. So we were looking at this cool thing with the two lion heads. And then as you come up closer, you see the curvature in here. And I'm thinking this might be a basin. And then look at this. There it is. It goes through. So this might have been a gutter or some kind of flowway, but that would have been up high because then the lions would have been maybe part of a fountain. But again, where are the other pieces that match that? They're not here. Everything is just a mixed match of everything. The only closest fountain that we know of is the so-called fountain there. So we're kind of about here on this perspective. Sort of not, but that's the small theater. And we came up through that way. That was the big hill and the big theater. There's still so much we haven't seen yet. We walked by the theater. If I point, it's going to take it out. So we went up that hill here. This was the hill. And then it's a small theater. We're on the right side. This was big. Very, very big city. The terrace houses are right in the center there. This big walkway here. I don't think we're allowed down there, but it goes to the sea, possibly that far, or a lake. There's more stuff. Oh, look at that. We haven't seen that yet. Their stadium.
Look, they put all the expensive houses in the middle of the
And they had the deep secret system like about.
This is at the upper entrance to the city of Ephesus. We are now going to head back down. We're walking through the theater. And more remnants. See, they have the original piping from way back when. And it's just fields of this stuff. This was probably another Agora, possibly, but I don't see columns around it except for there. There's probably baths up here because coming into the Roman cities, you had to bathe to get rid of the disease. Here's storage that was obviously closed off at one point. The Basilica store. We're going to go inside the Boletiran Theater. There's statues in here coming into the theater, smaller theater, with the cat saying hi. And here's the small theater. This was just a small one. Maybe this is their political area. I think maybe this was just a smaller area for meetings. And you can see based on the rocks that it was definitely rebuilt. And this is just like the backstage of the theater. It's starting to fill up with what looks like school-age children, teenagers. Yeah, maybe 1,000 people could fit in here. Got a feeling this is backstage area for people. They would enter in through here. And then we have upstairs. Let's see what's upstairs. More mystery carvings. Circles. No idea what those are.
All together with the Celsus.
There's probably buildings up there. I see somebody way up there by the tree line. Pretty far away. The old theater had to be just totally destroyed. And over time, they just rebuilt it. So now we're standing up on a parapet above where we just were. You can see a lot more of the foundations. You can see this is a double height of storage areas. That upper was the Hall of Inscriptions, I believe they call it. I don't see any sarcophagi here at all. There's got to be some somewhere. I know they've taken a lot, but there would still be some. They usually don't take that. My guess is they're up on the mountains and just buried over time. You can see the library of the Celsus way out there, Celsus Library. And we need to walk way back down that way to get back to our car. And to go up there would be a real adventure. I don't think you're allowed up there. Only workers and goats and sheep and cats. So just walking along, and then you do always want to be forewarned that there are drop-offs. That's why they have these poles. And then, boom, there it is. Celsus Library. So coming to Ephesus, you got to consider a few things. Is what time of the year you're coming. You come during crowded season. This is going to be crowded. Even now in the off season. This is actually it's Thanksgiving Day 2024. It's started fairly cool. It's still pretty cool, but you can see there's definitely some groups here. As far as the price goes for foreigners, it's 40 euros, and some people complain about that being expensive. I would argue that it's not, because the amount of money they need to fix this up so we can see even more of the past is definitely worth it. So you're not just spending money, you're investing in the future. And I know that may seem strange to some of you, but the sights you get to see here are pretty cool, and they will last you for a lifetime, especially with these cool posers. When you enter from up above, it's recommended, so they say you start downhill. The problem is you have to walk back uphill when you're exhausted. So on a hot day, definitely I would advise coming in from the lower and work your way up. Bring plenty of water. There is water at the top too, but it's just better to carry it. I just carry a backpack with extra batteries. I carry basic first aid stuff just in case. They have, notice on every sign in the video, they have ambulance, because there are some trip hazards here. I'm sure there's been a few people who have fallen down.
This one is not helping everyone to
Again, part of the fees they charge to go into the Terrace house is 15 euros. And then you get to go in there and probably walk on manufactured stairs overlooking the ruins. It's probably tens of millions of dollars spent just to build this area and excavate it. Coming from the upper entrance to the Celsus library, this is what you see. Now imagine 1800 years ago, before the earthquake, this would have been a complete building, and there would have been sides to it, a roof to it. There would have been statues up above. The statues are most likely in the museum here and in the Italia Museum. And what a sight this had to be. Absolutely beautiful. All right, we need some help. Who knows what this symbol is? This is in Ephesus. And we found this one, and we found this one. So somebody do some work on this and put it in the comment. Let us know what you find. Wall, columns. This had to be beyond impressive back in the day. Walking towards the terrace houses. But across the way here, it's very different. Very different. So either they took the walls away, or just to my left was very special. The Agora is on the other side to my left. And then you have those strange carvings in here, and they make no sense as to why they did those. So who knows, mechanically speaking, why did they carve these holes? Strange. The big theater at Ephesus. You can see the damage from the earthquake in 278 and how much work they've done to even get it back this far. So much work, so much money, so much time. No, they don't have pigeons, they got cats. You sit down to eat outside, you gotta pay your dues. Surrounded. These are milestone markers that they used. Obviously the color's new, but they like to tell people where they were, where they're going, depending on who was there. There's some writing in here. It's kind of hard to see, but there's carving in there. This one's been worn out. These are not gravestones, they're milestones. And these would have been every so often. And this is what's left of them, or some of them. So there's a herd of cats here, and I got a feeling she's the reason. Oh. They are everywhere, and these are big ones. These are not kittens. Well, maybe this one is. The one place I really wanted to go was the old harbor. You can see it on Google Earth. I'll show you an overlay here. And just looking at that, it's all marshland now. But that marshland, that old harbor, you got there way down that way. That's probably a good kilometer or more. It was a bath gymnasium. Again, people coming in on the harbor and the ships, they would have bathed them to get rid of any potential disease. And there's a river that would have been attached to that harbor. And then the sea is, I believe, 5 miles that way, heading to the west. Here's some sarcophagi, very plain, very average, not ornate. I don't think this is where they were originally, but this field could have been packed with them. This reminds me, you can see the guy out here, that this could have been quite a few sarcophagi for regular people. We're gonna head to the Church of Mary. Just out in the middle of a field. This is the Church of Mary up this way. We're gonna head to the Church of Mary. Just out in the middle of a field. This is the Church of Mary up this way. The Church of Mary, and this is obviously remnants, houses, maybe monastery, nunnery. I don't, whatever they had back then. It would have been a while. But this is just a lot of excavation. Again, how much energy and time does it take to do this? Going into the Church of Mary, this looks like a wall that fell down. And then these would have been hallways, rooms. They have parachuting here, airport. This is a pretty big complex. Let's see what kind of artifacts we see spread out throughout. There's all kinds of different rock columns. Again, a lot of this stuff, I still think this was built in different times. This seems like this was a small chapel. Just, it has a feeling of a small chapel here. There's a doorway that was blocked off. This, I think, you never know if this was a bath or a chapel. It goes down. I'm sure it goes a lot farther than we can see. The marble column, what's left of it, it's just eaten away over time. You can see what time does to a marble column over time. How it's just eaten away. And they filled in with some sort of cement. It's just being eaten by time. Time takes its toll on anything built. This was rebuilt recently, within, we'll say 100 years or so. 1900s when they started doing this stuff. Things changed. I hear steps just going up to nowhere. I doubt they had organs playing back in the day, if they even had music in here. This looks like this would have been maybe an open courtyard, possibly. This maybe was an outdoor enclosed place of worship. A lot of this has been reconstructed. (1967) something. I'll interpret that here on the screen for you below. This is a very long church. This is more of a complex than a church. But again, back in the day, things were different. We were in a different part of the world. I see all kinds of cool different sculpting and engraving. And again, just remnants just laying around everywhere. I doubt this is where they fell. And we see more of these unique carvings. The square with a line. And I got a feeling maybe it was for reinforcement. That's how they kept the rocks from sliding around and moving. Here's some more of what I believe to be eggs or fruits or something in the top of a column, or maybe the bottom base, it's hard to tell. And then as we look up, stacked over on the side, we see some unique engravings. Look what I found. Some more cool engravings. Is it a Gordian knot, a religious symbol? I've not seen this anywhere. I'm looking at these symbols in about the second room, and this is the exact same carving, except much smaller. This, we have to find out what this is. Somebody out there knows what this is. This is about hand size. The one at Cide was quite larger, but is that a religious symbol or just artwork? That does not appear in nature. Somebody is getting very creative with geometry shapes in art. If you know what that shape means, let me know. Here's some, I'm guessing these were wall plaques. You can see how that was fixed with, looks like epoxy. And more runes, just piled and piled and piles of runes. Just everywhere we look, there's just things laying around with no rhyme or reason. And here's a big, maybe a baptismal bowl. They have rooms, again with the boxes and the crates, things numbered, labeled. A very big area. Oh, and there's actual water in here. And there's coinage, so people are finding this a very special place, make a wish. But I think this was reconstructed over time. We can see some marble, and then what looks like modern cement and reinforcement bars to hold it. This is pretty well worn iron. It looks like some reinforcement, and I think the purple maybe is leftover paints. It's hard to tell. There's some yellow lichen on here. This is definitely lichen, but you can see how it was probably cracked and broken, and they rebuilt it quite a while ago. Now people are using it for wishing well. But this is pretty big. It's 5 feet across or so at least. That's pretty important. More unique inscription carving. The real mystery here is, where's all the rubble that came from up? This probably went up a bit higher, probably had a roof, but where's all the rubble? There's stuff on the side, but it's not equal to mass, even close to what's here. The flooring is obviously changed quite a bit. It could even be below our feet, but there's stuff just missing. It's just not here. Where did they take it? Where did they put it? This was built well after Ephesus itself. Here's some more unique carvings just laying down. Again, was this a wall? Was this a base? So here's an odd piece. I don't think this is its original placement, but what was this, a wall? It's just strange. It looks like an animal in there, maybe its tail. The head disappears into the sediment. And it's just a carving. It just doesn't make sense what that was. Just amazing. Absolutely speechless, some of this stuff of what it was. I'm trying to even guess what it was. Here's more carvings, diggings out here. So something went lower. And again, this whole field was probably some sort of complex, and it's just buried. There's small ridges out there if you can make it out. Probably each one of those ridges has the top of a wall, and it's just filled with maybe 2 meters of dirt and detritus over time. As we explore further into the Church of Mary, this just keeps going on. This is a very large complex. I would imagine there were hundreds of people throughout the day in here doing all kinds of different things. Praying mostly, talking, meeting, discussing. And now it's just rubble with a lot missing. There's a door there that leads to something. Columns, and I'm gonna guess this was the main chamber based on the door and the openness. And who knows if they had chairs? Probably not, but I would imagine they had blankets, towels. Maybe they just sat on the floor. Maybe they stood. And is this even the original floor? This maybe was wall. It's all mixed match. And I got a feeling that this was placed by people over the years, like last 200 years, 150 years. And it was probably all mosaic. It just has the feeling that there is something. But again, where's the tops? Where's the walls? It's all gone. Or maybe we're standing on the walls. I'm gonna make a bold prediction based on common sense that they didn't make carvings like this in the floor, that this was part of a wall. There's just carvings in places. This looks like something was written that was censored out. So there's that ancient censorship again. They chiseled out whatever was there. Each of these blocks has something uniquely different in it. And again, how old is it? Is it from the original? This does not look like a good symbol to have in the Church of Mary. I'm sure that's fairly recent by somebody. In the Church of Mary, in what I'm calling the main chamber, there's more censorship. That we can't make out. Oh, look at this one. And there's a lot of censorship, a lot of chipped out stuff. Or maybe this wasn't even finished. Maybe it was just started and they left it. But here's something that I'm recognizing some Latin symbols. What do you see here? If you can tell, let me know. And we come to the end of where we're supposedly allowed to go. This looks like a main area that has an arch, which tells me there was something down below grade, and it looks like there, maybe it was a chamber going down. I can't see below it, and then there's fence behind it, and then another wall. So there is definitely more to this. It's just ripped off and we're not allowed to go, or at least that's kind of what the sign says, no entrance. And this is the Church of Mary at Ephesus, of what's left of it, and a wall, and that looks like that was rebuilt. Here's the, oh, I gotta stick my head in here. Let's see what's in here. Oh geez, I gotta do this. Let's see what's in here. Hello, hello, hello. Just rocks, no bones, just litter. Stop throwing water bottles, people. Come on, it's not a garbage festival. But I'm looking up, and it's definitely built around something. See, here's something else that was blocked off. You just gotta wonder, it's like, what was here? If they started doing this in the 1900s, what was here before that? Here's a nice area. This is fairly, wow, it just keeps going. It's huge. Oh, marble. This is important stuff here. We're gonna go into there, but there's way more here. Wow. This is just amazing how much stuff is here. I see modern cement. This has an important feeling. We've got the big marble on the sides, and it's hard to tell if this is originally placed here, but probably. And then what looks like, that's a bath. That's got to be a bath. I'm going to guess it's very important. Maybe this was baptismal. It looks deep enough. It probably goes down a little bit further. You can see the Christianity here. These are more the modern cross than the plus. This was a very special room. There's a lot of statues and ornamental pieces that would have been in here. You could just feel it. Absolutely. And this was different. And I got a feeling this even went down further. And maybe this was slightly raised. We noticed on the wall in the marble, these big chunks. These are everywhere throughout Ephesus. But this one in particular caught our attention. That is definitely a cross. And this was probably a holder where they melted or they pressed in maybe gold. And it was pulled out, and right directly across from it, this one. And this one, there's no remnants of the cross except for that. Maybe this was the base, but this was definitely pilfered. So I'm gonna guess that these big chunk remnants were probably from an earthquake, but again, they might have moved them here with giant cranes. Tractors, there's no wheel dents that I can see, but big chunks that are formed like that generally fell over or were placed there. No, they were placed here. There's the beams. So these are protected, but there's still not enough debris. There's a farmer's field over here. And just scrub. And more remnants of little things and just tiny little pieces of rock everywhere. It just, this stuff just was thrown haphazardly. But there's probably just tons of this stuff. Hundreds and hundreds of tons. You can see the old bricks. And again, look at this, the way, there's no rhyme or reason to it. Maybe this is an archway. That looks like it was part of an archway. Here you can see the baptismal, what we call the baptismal area. These giant chunks that are turned sideways. This is on its side. This was placed here. These are not from the earthquakes, based on the fact that they're sitting on giant railroad ties and braced up. So somehow they brought some stuff in here. It's just a mixed match of marble, clay, brick, rock, everything. Hiding in plain sight is this. This is the Church of Mary at Ephesus. And I'm thinking this was not part of the floor. I think this is the wall. I've seen this somewhere else. It was in the city somewhere. I'll have to go back and look. A lot of video shot. Okay, these, I'm calling this what I see. This looks like a giant cover stone for something. This is way too thick and broken up. Plus it's got a hole in the middle that was carved on purpose. There's some other carvings in here. These don't look right here. There's a lot of stuff that doesn't look right in this flooring. I think all these blocks were wall stone, and what's underneath might be protected mosaic, because this just doesn't match up. Nothing here matches. There's got to be pictures somewhere of what this looked like at one time. So here's another mystery. I'm seeing this circle, right? You see the etching, and then it stops, so there's some stuff missing. And here we have a hole in the middle. So I'm thinking something turned around inside this circle. There's nothing else that I can see that looks like that. And it's amazing how rough it is right now. Here's the only other stones that maybe could be it, and I don't see any circles. I feel like I want to help rebuild some stuff, so I'm going to take what somebody else started and I'm just going to add to it. So there's my addition to the current state of affairs here. But I don't think we'll ever know what this looked like or what it will look like. Even with the best attempts, there's just too many missing pieces unless they're hiding them underground, which is more than likely. Anyways, the Church of Mary, Ephesus, we're just seeing all kinds of mixed match rocks, remnants, carvings, everything. Everything is from a different time, different civilizations, different eras. Now check this out. Here is something you just don't see anywhere. And I doubt a Christian group would have put that up the top. So we're guessing that has to be from the 1900s when they rediscovered this for the umpteenth time. But I see polymer fills, cement fills, so somebody guessed. And again, did they take the idea from Egypt? Did they take it from modern building? Was it somebody's impression of what they wanted it to look like? It's just very hard to tell.